We have put together a flyer detailing updated information and are providing you with this today. Also new today, we are announcing an increased reward amount to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest of Maggie Long's murderers. We have also created a website. It's www.maggielongtaskforce.com. The Maggie Long Task Force developed the website for the purpose of providing you as a public with additional information about this case, and hopefully jogging a memory and generating additional leads. The website contains factual information to include pictures of Maggie, the crime scene, and evidence to encourage you to compare what you might know or have heard with what actually happened. These three men may or may not have prior criminal arrest or be who you might expect to be involved in such a crime. The website will allow witnesses to remain anonymous and an opportunity to receive a reward of $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the suspects. Please keep in mind that providing a tip does not mean that person will be considered a suspect unless evidence in this case determines him to be one. We have ruled out over 100 people to date on such tips. Cases like this are sometimes solved by bystanders who have suspicions that someone they know has involvement or knowledge of possible involvement, and they make the decision to come forward. The fire at Maggie's home was set on December 1st, 2017, and investigators have determined that one or more of the suspects may have sustained some sort of injury from that fire. A green safe was taken, along with guns and some of Maggie's belongings. These men will likely have relocated, changed their appearance by shaving or growing facial hair, or cutting or growing out their hair. They may have sold or otherwise disposed of their vehicles, and their moods may have noticeably changed since this event. They may show interest in this case, either by intentionally avoiding any news coverage or alternately actively seeking to discover any details on the case as they emerge. The sketch before you is a mirror likeness of one of the three suspects. Please do not eliminate someone of interest simply because he does not resemble a sketch. At least 3 people are involved and more sketches are forthcoming. The Maggie Long website is specifically designed to assist those of you in the general public who have suspicions that a person you know may have been involved in this crime or have knowledge of it. Somebody knows these suspects well and lives or works with them. They may not have confessed to the crime, but they may have provided you with clues that something terrible happened in December of 2017. We encourage you to explore the website and go to the areas of interest that your friend, family member, neighbor, or coworker may have discussed. You can remain anonymous. Some of the website pages are interactive, and others provide you with an opportunity to leave a tip. Every tip will be addressed, and no tip is considered unimportant. We are asking you to trust your instincts and give us a chance to bring closure to Maggie's family. We as law enforcement have tools in this case to quickly rule out any person who is not involved. Please look at the items taken when Maggie Long was murdered. The suspects likely held on to these for a few days before attempting to discard them, sell them, or give them to someone they trust. To date, we have not located the green safe or the guns. The persons holding these items will be able to identify our suspects. At this time, I cannot provide you with all of the details as to why Maggie was murdered or specific evidence we've obtained during the course of the investigation. However, we wanted to provide you with the website information and encourage you to visit this website if you may have been in the vicinity of Bailey, Colorado, or Maggie's home the day she was murdered, or may have observed something related to her death. This case will remain active and ongoing, and as the newly elected sheriff, I will update you when there is new information and an arrest has been made. In the meantime, I ask that you visit the website to see if there's any information you can provide the task force to help us solve her murder. As mentioned earlier, your tips will remain anonymous if you wish. Any and all leads will be thoroughly reviewed. Myself and the law enforcement agency standing before you understand you demand a full accounting of why Maggie was murdered, and nothing is more important to us than determining the reasons for this horrific tragedy and bringing justice to the persons responsible for Maggie's death. Maggie's murder brings to light why we work together as law enforcement community when we encounter investigations like this. We hope the murder of an innocent child never happens, but that is why we work with our law enforcement partners to solve violent crimes in our community. This investigation has been a methodical and time-consuming operation, and we are still actively pursuing all leads developed this past year. I cannot commend the task force enough through their diligence and hard work for the duration of this investigation. Please note that the safety of the citizens is the top priority to all of us standing before you today, and nothing is more important than our community's well-being and solving this case. We will continue to work closely with CBI, ATF, and the FBI as we continue to work towards an arrest in this investigation. We will hold a press conference when there is an update with the case. We are providing you with a flyer that includes the additional sketch I mentioned earlier. We also have secured billboards located throughout the Denver and Colorado Springs area to provide the website information to the public. In addition, tomorrow night, the Park County Sheriff's Office and I will be holding a town hall meeting for our community, and I'm happy to address their questions and concerns at that time. The town hall meeting will be held at the Fitzsimmons Middle School in Bailey at 7 o'clock p.m. For media inquiries, we have established a designated email address. That email address is media@maggielongtaskforce.com. Please feel free to email us for case updates. I'll now take a few questions from you.
Sheriff, this is the first time we've heard about 3 suspects involved in Maggie's murder. How long has the task force known about this, and do you think that this information should have been released earlier?
This information was developed through evidence that was gathered at the scene. It wasn't something that was available right away, so it's been worked on. We felt that now was a good time to put that information out to the public.
And do you know when new sketches will be released of the other 2?
There's one new sketch that's being released to you right now with the other old one that we have, and hopefully in the future we might have another one.
So the initial one, that was the first suspect, this is the second, and so we're waiting on a third sketch?
Yes, sir.
Just another question. A year ago, DNA samples were collected from Maggie Long's family members and associates of the family. We never really got a good explanation why that was done. Do you know how many people you collected samples from and just why that was done?
I know that we have collected dozens of DNA samples from people. That's just an investigative tool for us to use that. That's just an investigative tool for us to have those DNA samples from everybody at the house.
Was DNA collected at the scene of the crime?
As part of the processing of the evidence scene, there was numerous items of evidence taken.
You can't say if DNA was collected, though?
There was samples of different types of evidence taken from throughout the scene. DNA would have been one of them, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I know you think it was targeted, but do you think she knew the 3 suspects prior to her murder?
We can't say that right now. I don't know the answer to that question. It's a possibility, but we don't know that answer.
2 questions. Were sketches formulated from, you say sketches were formulated from the scene or from evidence, not from eyewitnesses?
No, from eyewitnesses.
From
sketches.
Eyewitnesses.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you said you cannot say reasons that the incident occurred. Are you saying for purposes of the investigation you can't say, or you know and you can't say, or you don't know?
You're gonna have to rephrase that question a little bit.
You said you couldn't say the reasons that this may have occurred.
No, we don't know exactly why Maggie Long was murdered. We don't have that answer to that question right now. Yes, sir.
Where do these 3 vehicles fit into the whole narrative of this story?
Well, if you go to that website that I described to you, you'll be able to see, they'll show you where the vehicles were at and their involvement that we think they might have had in it. So I would highly suggest looking at the website, and it could explain that a little bit more clearer.
And I'm just wondering, we went from 1 suspect initially to now 3. Are we getting that from more witnesses coming forward since the time of this crime? Where's that play?
Well, it's throughout the investigation we've developed more and more leads, and like I said, sometimes people, they didn't think it was important at the time, and then they came forward at a later date. So we're able to develop more information about who possibly was involved in this murder.
I know that in cold case investigations, sometimes people may think, oh, this is a minor detail of what happened here. Could you just reiterate and emphasize how important those small things people may have noticed about that time are crucial to this investigation?
Absolutely. You never know. Somebody might have seen somebody driving through the neighborhood slowly, you know, and looking around, things like that. I know it's difficult to remember what happened over a year ago, but hopefully because they know that there was a fire that night and that the tragedy that happened, that they might jog their memories, that they might remember something that might be able to help us out further on the investigation.
All right, let's go last question, and then, of course, we're going to do some one-on-ones after.
Sheriff, I was just gonna ask, do you know how the house was set on fire? What was used to set the house on fire?
I'm not going to be able to answer that question. That might hinder the investigation. I'd rather not go there on that.